Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hello, Positive Philter listeners. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. It's funny because I say that I'm joined by a special guest, and literally I say that to everybody. But everyone on my podcast is special. They mean something to me. They're a good person. Most of them are Ill-Fil Award recipients. I'm joined by Megan. I don't want to mispronounce your name. I've always murdered your last name. So why don't you say your last name correctly so I don't embarrass myself in front of everybody.
You mean my maiden name and my married name?
Yeah, I actually really murder both of those, and Maggie gets so upset at me. So why don't you say both of them? Maybe I should do what I say. Okay, Megan Ebson Neforos.
Oh, valiant attempt. But
there you go. Yo, stay in school and read, kids. Yo.
Good try, Phil. Thanks. We can drop the Ibison. It's Megan Neforos.
Ibison, that's not even close.
Not even close.
Well, okay.
I'll add that to the list of butchering.
Yeah, that was really bad, but actually maybe I'm proud of myself. Maybe that's the worst you ever heard.
No.
So, now, if you don't know, Megan is a top-class, world-renowned, Fairfax County renowned school counselor. She went through the same counseling program as me, but on the school track. So shout out to George Mason, a really good program that's produced such elite counselors in the field, such as Megan, and mediocre counselors in the field, such as myself. Yeah, so... But I definitely wanted to bring her on the podcast because in the profession of counseling, I think it's I hate the word. It's not guidance counseling. We don't. Let's get away from that term. But counseling actually in the realm of mental health, and while I think there may be some limitations of what mental health counseling you can do in a school system, Megan is overcoming that, and she's doing some really good things. And if you follow her on Instagram, you see she's taking her kids to the Redskin games and just doing all kinds of things in the community and just really, really making an impact and changing the field of counseling. So I want to I give this your time. Let me just go ahead and introduce your career and what you do as a counselor.
Well, thank you, first of all, for all the sweet comments that you made. I will also say massive shout out to George Mason Counseling first because I felt really prepared going into the field as a school counselor, and I love returning now as a supervisor for George Mason programs and having interns from the program. I feel like they really do hone in on some great skills and considerations like social justice and multiculturalism that really played a huge role in my comfort being a school counselor in one of the most diverse schools in Fairfax County Public Schools. So I am honored to be here and talk with you tonight about youth mental health. And I'm glad that you mentioned it's not guidance counselor anymore because we moved away from that. The American School Counselor Association really has school counselors focusing on the social, emotional, personal, and career aspects of students. So we're very comprehensive in that nature. So guidance is kind of like a bad word, right?
Yeah, it's a shame word. Shame on you if you still say guidance. So
move away from it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say shame. So, first of all, Megan is super prepared. She's probably made the most extensive outline that I've ever had to make sure that I'm on point. But that's good for me, and so I don't veer off topic. But I definitely want to talk about uh, mental health. So, like just for someone that doesn't even know, how would you define mental health?
Well, I think that's a big big
Okay,
range of
okay. How about mental health for dummies?
mental health for dummies. I think
Yeah.
just the overall wellness and
Mhm.
overall being of a person,
Yes.
how they view the world, the lens that they see
Mhm.
it, how they persist through challenges, and
Yep.
their level of resiliency
Yep.
going forward. And that if I like to do mental health as it's natural for people. This is a
Mhm.
natural thing. There is nothing wrong with being sad or
Mhm.
happy or angry. But the problem is when it's at the extremes. So
Yep.
I always talk to students and educate them about. I'm looking for on a line. So is
Mhm.
too much of this or is there too little of that? And when we do start to see that happen and it's at the extremes, then maybe something needs to be focused on. Maybe we need to have a more of a evaluation on how you're doing. So I talk to kids about, are you sleeping too much? Are you sleeping too little? Are you crying too much?
Mhm.
Or are you having low affect in how you respond to people? Do you care? How do you show that you care? How do you participate in life activities? Are you involved with friends? Are you feeling connected to groups? Are you withdrawing? Like just having those reflections for people to evaluate themselves, because that really is how they take in the world and how they're going to handle things that come their way. So that is the best way that I can
That
describe
was excellent. I was going to say the thing about mental health, um, similar to your physical health, is that like your body could be susceptible to illnesses, and you need to take care of it just like you would take care of your physical health. So how do you take care of your physical health? You feed it good nutrients and good food. You exercise and all those things. So how do you take care of your mental health? You make sure that you intake positive messages and books and good messaging, and not feed your mind garbage. And then also at the same time, you can exercise your mind with different techniques, like journaling or meditation and things like that. But I think that it's along the same lines that it's a part of you, like you said, it's a crucial part of you that a lot of people don't realize is susceptible to changes and can go through ups and downs, and it needs to be taken care of just like you would take care of your physical
Right,
body.
because when you put something on the back burner, then it can go
Mm,
away and slip, and it's easy to just say,
mm,
make excuses. And I'll focus on it tomorrow. I'll focus on it tomorrow. But then the longer you put it off,
mhm,
the more difficult it's going to be to bounce back. And so I liken mental health to like potholes in the road.
mhm.
So
Yep.
they slowly chip away with all the stress that comes into your life, and
Mhm.
stress happens. I mean, I always laugh when people evaluate their years like, oh, thank God 2018 is going away, like, what an awful year that was. Well, you had a lot of chips in your road then. So, how are you filling that road? What are you
Right.
doing? Because that pothole is going to break. And so, how are you bettering yourself and what kind of self care are you taking, taking steps to ensure that you're okay with
Right.
your mental well being?
Yeah, and I like the thing about the potholes and stress happens. I mean, uh, there's eustress. I don't know if that's the correct word, but there's positive stress and there's negative stress. Like sometimes stress, pressure gets you motivated to do things. But there's a line where that thing tips over and it's not good for you. And so, like you said, ignoring things, the problem's getting bigger. And if you're not doing routine maintenance, like you're not doing routine maintenance of those roads, they're
Right.
gonna be really bad for your car.
Well, and I
Um,
think with kids too, we dismiss that they have problems. I mean, some people
mhm,
view and liken childhood to excitement and happiness and Disney and
mhm,
full of joy and primary colors. and lights and bells and whistles, but really there's a lot of stressors that go on in kids' life, and they're
Mm-hmm.
exposed to it earlier and earlier.
Yes.
Pressure going on. They have more exposure to things than other generations. So
Yes.
we really can't view youth in the mental health context as, they're going outside and playing all the time, because they're not.
No.
There's a lot of limitations on kids in particular, and we have to recognize that it will exist in them, and it happens earlier and earlier with kids. In fact,
Yeah.
almost half of all mental health issues with kids start before age 14.
Oh wow. And I was about to say that. I was about to go into that. Like, when I was growing up, you know, you know, really, I went to a little small private school, but when I went to public school, kids would not be there if they were, depressed or, I mean, not depressed, but girl got pregnant or something, like she wouldn't be there. But now it seems like what Maggie's seeing is kids not coming to school and for mental health issues earlier and earlier. And, she works at an elementary school, and kids are already very, very, the pressure of performing well is hard on kids now. I don't remember me being a kid thinking that it was that serious academically, right? But now it's some next level thing where the pressure cooker to succeed for the little kids is crazy now. And so now we're seeing a lot more kids that are anxious or, you know, exhibiting, issues, mental health issues and things like that. Have you seen that upward trend in kid mental health yourself?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought up the pressure cooker and kids, not wanting to come to school, because attendance is a big thing right now in the state of Virginia in particular. It's related to accreditation of schools. And a lot of schools are really tackling chronic truancy and absences head on. I feel like attendance is life right now for me. And in particular, we're seeing that elementary schools in kindergarten and in 12th grade, those are the two grade levels that have the highest attendance issues. And so
Mm,
here they're at the beginning and at the end. So that kind of pressure that they're feeling, the transition at the time, how overwhelming they are. There's
mm,
significant dropouts at ninth grade. In
wow.
particular, that is huge and something that we all need to be focusing on in the schools, how we're transitioning kids. I have had some extremely serious situations with students where they are not coming to school and refusing to come to school because they don't have a sense of well-being, they
Mm,
don't have a sense of connectedness. Although attendance is something that might not be understood in their home, expectations of coming to school,
mm-hmm.
and so it's kind of lax, and then kids get comfortable and not coming. But there might be bigger issues. So if kids are saying, I don't want to come to school, it might
Mm-hmm.
not be just because they want to stay at home like me and watch Top Gun and Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my thing. Like that was
Yeah. Video games. Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
would have done.
video games, but it might be something serious. Like maybe they're being teased, or they feel insecure in how they're performing in a class. Maybe
Yeah.
there's gaps in their education, and that's like reading, for example.
Hmm.
They're sitting in a class as an eighth grader, but they're reading at a fourth grade level. Who would
Yeah,
want
they
to
don't want to do
expose
that.
themselves to that on a regular
I
basis?
wouldn't want to do that. Yeah.
Right. So they refuse to come. So
Mm.
we look at those trends, and absolutely, school anxiety is something that we walk through students with, whether
Wow.
and it's becoming that becomes my point of focus for kids when I see that they're absent on a regular basis. What is going on? Bigger picture here.
So you did touch upon something really good. So, what are schools doing to address mental health? What are they doing? What are you doing? What are the schools doing? What are they doing well to address this?
So I was really shocked not too long ago. A flyer came by my desk, and it said that Virginia was ranked number 47th in the country in resources for youth mental health. I
Okay.
could not believe that, but I could at the same time, because when I'm working with students and they are struggling, and I have to connect out to community resources for interventions for them,
Yeah.
I feel a great deal of barriers, obstacles, resistance. I feel like it's getting more and more challenging to support youth mental health. And it's very difficult. In years past, I've heard, like I had a kid who was having serious psychiatric breaks and having hallucinations and was suicidal and self-harm. And I was told that in order to get the child placed in long-term residential care, they needed to have 3 psychiatric breaks. And I thought, why do we even have to have that in order to get them the resources?
So we had to let him go. You had to like let him or him. Let's say this person let this person had these episodes to even prove that they needed service.
Right.
And so you had to let them go through the trauma and all that stuff. But what if one of those episodes was a dangerous one, and it could have been the one that put that person in real harm?
And these students are walking around our building, and they're struggling, and
Wow.
they're having difficulty coping. And so within this, that's why it's even more important. A research article or an article came out today just talking about what schools can do, because there is that has become a key focus, like the social emotional learning for students.
Mm-hmm.
How do we infuse that in? So Virginia, kudos to Virginia, they now have a 30-minute recess law to help students get those brain breaks and get out and run around. And it was, I think, 15 minutes before, and now they have that unstructured time for students because of the pressure cooker situation that we just talked about. Also, there's greater staff training. There's Cognito, which Fairfax County does with all staff members to create an awareness of mental health issues. And it has modules that teachers go through, and how you build a relationship with a student who has a crisis situation, so you're not cutting them down, but you're actually supporting them in the process and saying, thank you for coming and talking to me about this, but have you talked to your counselor, and like how to push them there instead of like shutting them down. Like, how can I continue to have this conversation? I will tell you, it is a gift that students will share something that's so deep and troublesome with me, and that has that relationship building is key. And so there's also a focus on professional development for relationship building, mentorship programs in the county. The mentor work program, I ran that and coordinated that for several years at homes. And I think it's a valuable asset that community partners can get involved in. So if people are interested in getting involved in that, they just have to reach out to the county and volunteer their time. There's also a program called Give an Hour that I just learned about, and they're actually people that are out there to provide support for free. And then they can come in and work with students outside of the home. The Big Brothers program, I've had kids work with that before in the past. There's also a big focus on mindfulness and yoga in classrooms.
Yeah.
So how you take that time to be mindful of how you're feeling and how to relax too. So I started that within my office, but also now it's starting to transpire to all classrooms, which I think is fantastic. Another thing that I think is massive is the need for more school counselors, social workers, shout out to Maggie.
Shout out.
And school psychologists. I'm very impressed that Loudoun County has put an additional counselor in all middle schools. I think that was phenomenal that they did that, and I know that Fairfax County is looking at that as well, and how to restructure that and include that extra support. In particular, at my school, where I'm involved in restorative justice programs, in particular with attendance circles, and having students find a connectedness to one another, so that they can come to school and feel open and heard. In elementary schools, most people might know of it as like morning meetings, where kids are talking in a circle about their day and opening up. It's kind of what restorative justice does. And restorative justice model.
I mean, you just listed a lot of resources.
I am.
You just went through I was like, Jesus, this is a lot.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, I was like, so how? I mean, all that stuff you said was very impressive. How we still 47th, and then what schools, what state is higher than that? Like those were some really good ideas. What state is higher than that? Or what's number?
I mean, we're 47th, so.
Yeah, what's number? Do you know what number one?
I don't know, because you know what? I just stopped short when I saw that.
Oh, because I was about to say, what's number one doing? Because, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I was pretty impressed with number 47. Like, that's a lot of good ideas.
Well,
that's a lot of good stuff.
We do a lot.
Yes, I'm saying it's a lot.
That's school based. So I'm talking about community. Like they're talking about
because okay, and I can see that.
So one of the things that I'm really happy about is we have a program now that and it's select schools in the county, and
Yeah.
they have short-term counseling services that are being provided. So for free. And so that was life-changing and life-altering for me as a counselor. This is my 9th year, and we finally have a program to provide one of our neediest communities free mental health support.
Right. They need that.
What a gift that is! Because
I've heard that too, because I've heard people say, "I want to get help, but I can't afford it," and
and
that
they
sucks.
can't, or there's the demands on counselors too, LPCs outside is significant. So a lot of times we send parents their way, and they can't get a call back or they don't have availability, and I feel for LPCs because they're stressed out too, and they're maxed out with their capacities and their caseloads, and they're working hard. So I do appreciate them very much, but it is difficult technically, I mean, part of the statistic was that 7 out of 10 kids with depression and anxiety aren't getting support.
Or not. They're not getting support.
Not getting support. And I read today as well that 1 out of 5 students is seriously considering, they've reported they seriously have considered committing suicide. So when we're talking about those kind of numbers and those kind of needs, we all need to work together and collaboratively. It can't just be on the schools. It's partnership with the parents. It's awareness for the parents of the needs that are going on and educating them of that. It's continuously, like with these counselor education programs, making sure that we are targeting the needs. I think the counseling program at George Mason, for example, has changed since I went through. And same kind of structure, but target areas. Like here's the focus. How do you hone in on that?
Right.
So I also another thing that I think is in today's time, focusing on acts of kindness and building empathy in students.
Yeah.
This is a global effort. This is not just schools. This is a global effort.
Yeah.
Being able to teach kids how to step outside themselves and move from me to we in all their efforts, and that's what we need to be building in our students and our kids wholeheartedly. So yes, the schools play an absolute important role in this process, but we are all in this together.
And that's what. So you're saying it's the whole Virginia community is behind. It's not just the schools, because you're showing what a lot of things that the schools are doing, but not the communities.
Right.
And then one of the things that you touched, how do you stay up? You were spitting off some numbers, so therefore you're very engaged in reading and the trends in the field. How do you stay up to date on these numbers and trends? What kind of resources did you use to stay up?
I'm gonna give you a shout out. Your podcast, you had somebody on there, and somebody was talking about how they do, like you were talking about Google searches and.
Oh yeah, Google Scholar.
Yeah, Google Scholar.
Shout out. I use that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I do that, and also keeping in contact with fellow counselors too. I'm very big on Twitter right now, and so I think Twitter is one of the best professional development outlets. So I'm constantly reading articles on that and exposing myself to it.
You do Twitter chats?
Yeah, I do.
I just did my first one this week. That joint was pretty fun.
It is so fun and thought-provoking too, and it helps you stay connected to the field and also network across the country with people. And also the George Mason, we have a George Mason counseling group, and so one of the counselors posted the article today. I was literally reading.
What's this counsel group? I'm not in this yet.
Uh-oh.
Who's the admin? Who the admin?
So let me go ahead and add you.
Who the admin?
I don't think it's me. I don't think I made this. I don't know. I was kind of hyped back in the day.
No, okay. And then the Twitter chats, which ones do you listen? Like, what groups do you get involved with?
I'm big in the school counselor, so #SC chat.
Okay, that's a good one. Let's please put that in the show notes for the people to get involved. And then what I know for professional development, staying up on trends, people are big on conferences and associations. Are you a member of any conferences and associations?
I am. I just came back from the Virginia School Counselor Association conference. I
Okay.
Twice with a fellow GMU grad, Brian Ferraro. So we went down there and presented. So I love the affiliation with the program, and I try to see as all opportunities for professional development, because I know when I'm going to need it. I tackle all areas when I have students come in my office. I need to be fully prepared. I can't just be singular in nature. I got to know what I'm talking about and where to go. I mean, kids are constantly evolving
Yep.
and the needs that they have, and so I need to stay up to date on that. It's not ethical for me to be a school counselor and not be aware of what's happening.
Now I know you kicking butt in the classroom and or in the school because you in the class whatever school classroom, um, and this is a thing I've heard from lots. Like I got lots. It's funny. All my people. My best friend is a school counselor in Idaho. Shout out to Hillard. Um, One of the things I do hear from school counselors is that they went into the field of counseling to counsel, and they are tired of the admin stuff with scheduling classes and all that. Do you think there's a difference between elementary, middle school, and high school? Is there more opportunities in an elementary school to do more counseling than high school? Or how do you infuse that passion for counseling in a job where they try to make you do admin stuff?
So I think that is one of the biggest shockers about coming out of grad school.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I came out of grad school like, yeah, I'm gonna see the world.
Yep.
Got this, and then I had to do data collection and
Mhm.
um, sending emails, and because that's part of the job,
Mhm.
and being responsive to programs and supporting programs and being an instructional leader is
Mhm.
really the focus of being a school counselor. And that's who you are in the building. And I did not understand that leaving grad school. So
Mhm.
I personally, yes, wanted to go in, save the world, help, counsel. I thought that I'd be meeting with kids all the time.
Mhm.
And there are actually some days, and I've had to tell my interns this reality check, there are some days that you just are working on paperwork. And that's okay. That's part of your job. And
Mm.
in that process, you're supporting programs, you're helping the staff, you're like I create Google Docs all the time, or I'm doing Google Forms, or I'm writing, reaching out for guest speakers, and that's admin stuff that takes time. Or I'm
Mhm.
sending emails to parents about attendance issues, and I'm looking at the data. I'm making pie graphs. I'm doing whole
Yeah.
analysis on groups that
Yeah.
I'm running. That takes time and
Mhm.
effort to do that. But I personally have a conveyor belt of kids that come down to my office. I'm
Right.
very fortunate in my school that I have them for 3 years. So we have a looping model. And so I
Mhm.
start with them in sixth grade and I carry them all the way through eighth grade. And
Gotcha.
my focus is building relationships. I really can't speak to the amount of counseling that goes on in elementary versus middle versus high school because
Yeah.
I've only been middle school,
Right.
but I have to give a lot of shout out to elementary and high school because we all are doing the same work, but at a
Yeah.
different kind of level and a
Yep.
different kind of means, and we all have the best interest in heart for the students as well. So we actually, in my pyramid in my region, we are going to be shadowing each other to kind of get a glimpse of what's going on in the elementary versus high school. So I'm actually going to
Right.
go in elementary. I'm going to shadow it, a counselor to see what they're doing. And I did that in practicum, but I've been
Yeah.
so far removed, I kind of forgot.
Did
Um,
you gravitate to middle school for a reason? Like that age group is what draws you in. My boy, like I said, Hillard, I think he said he was kind of drawn to middle school for some reason. He's like they're not smart asses yet like high school kids.
oh,
They're not too impressionable, and they have a higher cognitive reasoning than elementary school. He's like they're just right in that window. But then at the same time, he's like middle schoolers are nutty, man. They're off the chain at the middle school he's at. So
I love.
is it something that gravitated you, like I want to work with the middle school kids?
Well, I'll share with you. So I did my practicum in elementary, and I
Hmm.
loved it. It was so much fun, and I was a former kindergarten instructional assistant, and so
Okay.
I love being in the classroom and being at that age and getting all the hugs and
Hmm.
the vibes in elementary. And I was actually projected by everybody in grad school to go to elementary. It's funny because you had mentioned about like first impressions of me and stuff, and so a lot of people say like, oh, spirit fingers, Megan, and I'm like super colorful, and people call my office like the like glitter room, and so high energy. And so I think it was natural for people to assume I was going to elementary. And in fact, downstairs in my basement, I have a whole box of elementary counseling, like bibliotherapy books.
She was ready.
I was ready for elementary. I
Yeah,
thought,
books. She was ready. Okay.
so, but also, I think I challenged myself by moving to middle school. When I was in the middle school level and internship, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the kids, so I knew I'd either go elementary or middle. I had some genuine resistance to high school, just only based on my own experience in high school, and I'll share. Kind of like I did with you before we started the podcast, that I personally felt like I struggled and I was alone. I didn't have a school counselor that was super supportive of my needs. And I walked through 4 years by myself, and I struggled with attendance, I struggled with grades, and I felt like nobody really knew me, took the time to get to know me, took the time to push me. I didn't feel like I had a school counselor that was a champion for me, and I needed that. So every day I go into my building, I want to be that person for my students. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't so much that elementary and middle like appealed for me, just grade level. I just thought that I could work with those students and feel more comfortable with them. But I'm starting to get a little bit of an itch for high school now, and the college and career side is really appealing to me.
Yeah.
I work with Avid, and so working with college career readiness,
Yeah.
it really has sparked an interest for me. And so I want to continue to grow as a counselor. So I want to stay open to all levels. That
Right.
was my perspective. But
Okay.
major shout out to elementary and high school counselors. They're working
Yeah.
so hard, and we all do such great work. And including my middle school counselors, I love them all.
That's really funny too, because like all my peoples now, like now going through the program, it's just so crazy to see like all the different counselors, the community counselors. But then it's funny, like they're like, Phil, how many school counselors do you know everyone in Fairfax? And I'm like, yeah, I know the one at this school and this school. Like, I'd be like, shout out to Enrique at Hayfield, and shout out to Ken Kim. I'm just giving all these shout outs. Ken Kim at what I think it's Herndon.
Okay.
All these people. Evan's not a school counselor anymore though. I think he's one of those what's it called?
Oh, Sosa? Estes?
Yeah, the Sosa things, right? Yeah. So shout out to
Yeah.
him. So it's just crazy, like to see
Are
all
you
you
talking
got.
about Luis?
And
Sosa?
yeah, Sosa too. Yeah, shout out to him too. We used to work together before
Yeah. No, don't
counseling.
give him a shout out. He left me.
Yeah, no, don't. I don't know what country he's in. I have a running joke with about Luis that like every time I look at Luis's Instagram, like no, he doesn't have an Instagram.
He doesn't.
His girl has an Instagram. Shout out to Jamie. This damn is in another country. I'm like, where is Luis now? So I have this group chat where the name of the chat is just called "Where in the World is Luis?" And, and he's like, we be guessing like I think he's in Panama or something. I don't know where he's at.
Swimming with sharks.
He's swimming, doing something.
Yeah.
So, what are some? We already talked about. What are some challenges that you see? Challenging addressing it in the school, like school counselors aren't therapists, or this, opposition. What challenges do you see as a school counselor?
We are very busy. 7.5 hours is not enough time to do the work that we got to do.
Mhm.
It absolutely. There are some days that I just have kids coming down and coming down and coming down, and not knowing how to um, handle that all the time
Mhm.
personally, because it can get very overwhelming at my school with the needs, and being able to. I was talking to a teacher the other day, and she said that she asked her classes, you know what, I just need 5 minutes for a head check space for me, and being available for that all day long. The needs of our students is so significant. Not too long ago, one of my co-counselors was asked by a community agency what percent of time we spend working with students for mental health needs in particular. And I went out on a limb and said 60%. And everybody in my counseling department says the same thing. So we are handling 60% of the time mental health needs, and trying to align these families with
Mm.
community resources that might not always be available for
Is
them.
there days? Is there days where it pops off like the moon's aligned,
Oh my
like
goodness.
like something pops off and everyone's having a problem? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, what kind of day would that be? Like, something happened in the community and all the kids are affected. Like, what day was like a day like that?
Yeah, it can be any day
Mm.
for any reason. Like a rumor can start a whole chain effect,
Mhm.
school-wide, and by the end of the day, the kids are all hype about it.
Mm.
And working through that, I will tell you that, school shootings,
Yep. Mhm.
the walkouts, significant nationwide events, the election was a
Mhm.
day that was pretty difficult. A lot of processing going on
Mm.
for the students. I know in other schools, um, if there's like a crisis situation, if somebody has died, that'll
Mhm.
maximize your entire time. And in grad school, they tell us, okay, they give us all these scenarios and say, you're going to have like a angry parent and you're going to have a conference that you need to be in. You've got lunch bunch. You've got, an IEP meeting that you have to attend and all these things. And you kind of like laugh it off. Like, no, I'm not going to have, no, it's legit. Like you're literally going to have
Boom. Boom.
a
Boom. Boom. Boom.
million fires
Wow.
you have to put out. And how do you manage that as a counselor? I've gotten better with it, in my 9 years, but it can be really difficult at times. And recognize that taking a break, being able to shut your door, and just taking a breather. So just like we push mindfulness with the students, we have to be mindful of that too.
Mm.
Um, and sometimes, yes, school counselors, we are not therapists. But we utilize therapeutic interventions and strategies to
Mhm.
support students because our main objective is to get them to be able to learn and be able available for that learning and to be able to function appropriately. But sometimes I have students, that I tell them, I just want you today to breathe. I just want you to focus on breathing because what's going on in your world right now is so hard that I just want you to be here. That's it. Just be here. And I'm their advocate. And I tell their teachers, I need you to just help them breathe. Just help them sit there and work with them on that. I have had issues that I have not been exposed to as personally that I'm working with the students, and thankfully I'm empathetic and I can really try to get into their shoes and feel what they're going through and what their families are enduring. Um, but we don't, as counselors, have to understand everything that kids go through. We just have to be there to support them through it and walk them through it and let them know there's hope on the other end. So really focusing on that and keeping that an objective.
Now I know race. I definitely not a, it's always ever present to me. But you are at a what, a high Hispanic school, right?
Absolutely, yes.
How did you, just approach that to have empathy, but also, we learn from multiculturalism in our classes. How do you recognize that, like, you're white, working with all
Yeah,
these,
sure.
like, how do you balance that, and how do you work with that?
And I bring that to the forefront, Phil, when I talk with students all the time, because I am aware of that as well when I'm working with students, especially when there's themes of race or ethnicity or prejudice that are involved, or some stereotypes that kids are
Mm.
feeling and they don't feel respected or heard, and they're making assumptions and they bring that into my office, and I put it out there. I say, are you comfortable talking with me as a white female about this
Mm.
situation? I just put it out there for them. I've never had a student say no to me.
Okay.
But in those moments, if they ever did, I would find somebody in the building with the student to explore how they can help them. Because that's my job as a counselor. If you're not going to come and talk to me, I need you to talk to some adult in the building.
Good
That is,
point.
you may not vibe with me, you may not get me, but I need you to get with somebody. That is a priority. But also taking the time. I'm part of the cultural proficiency team. I'm on the equity team, at my school, because these are important issues that need to be addressed, need to be tackled in the building and outside of the building too. One of my big projects that I'm working on for, I've actually stopped running the mentor program because I want to run a group that focuses specifically on topics that are relevant to teenagers. So I want
Mhm.
them to be able to bring up race, ethnicity, how it's impacting immigration issues, politics, and bring it, and we can talk about it and work through it and maybe make a difference. So I've been really like slow and steady and trying to get this approach going. I'm going to put into full effect coming up here soon. But I feel like kids need an opportunity to feel like they have a platform where they can be heard, and I want to provide that for them.
Now you talk about, I'm probably all over the place. I'm probably not even looking at your outline no more. I'm jumping
I
all over.
am.
You're on the outline. I'm just jumping over top. Um, but you said about the rumors, and so this is where positive filters, aka random mind. One of the things that instantly popped in my head was technology and cyberbullying um, and like the extra additional obstacle of you and teachers and all that. There's a lot of my stories of what I understand is going on in the school is through Maggie, but there's this whole world where the kids are getting bullied outside of the school, in this digital world, and I don't know, like not saying there's nothing you could do about it, but it's like almost like this world where they're getting bullied, where it's like an invisible world where you can't save them from that unless you take away their phone. Um, how do you deal with
Not
this?
necessarily. Not
How you
necessarily.
yeah, and when you said rumors, I said I bet rumors spread like a plague now because if a kid snaps this and snaps it, something can be instantaneous where the whole school can see that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's a scary world. I always say this. I feel like an old man on a soapbox. Like I can't imagine going through adolescence with social media.
Right.
Like we didn't have that. Like we didn't have that. Rumors were just whispering, and no one, only you saw that be doing, you know.
Yeah.
But but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
it's a dangerous world, and it for me. I feel for the kids. I feel like it's scarier now because they got to worry about how they look. They have to worry about how they, like when you get dressed for school and make sure you have good clothes on and stuff.
Right.
You got to worry about how you got good clothes on and stuff physically, but then you got to make sure you post cool things or people gonna say make fun of your post. It's just a crazy world. So how do you deal with that, the cyberbullying?
I'm really glad that you brought that up. Actually, so I'm going to go talk a little bit. We are Fairfax County is going to 1-to-1, so that means that students will have a device in all schools. That is their push, and that is going nationwide too. So many school systems are putting these devices, laptops or tablets, in students' hands earlier and earlier. So some elementary schools have it, high schools, middle schools.
They'll get their own tablet. They get their own tablet.
They will. They will.
Okay.
Like so at my school, we have gone 1-to-1 with my caseload this year. So my eighth graders all have a laptop.
Yay.
And so for the past 3 years, we have been working because we knew this was coming down the pipeline. So I want to give a shout out to our SBIT, Tori Diggs, for really helping develop digital citizenship lessons across the school, in particular, because we want to set students up for success and have them be aware of how their actions can have long term ramifications on a
Mm.
digital platform.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
when we talk about, like when you said we got to take the phone away from them, we actually need to keep the phone in front of them or the device
Mm.
in front of them
Okay.
so that they learn how to use it appropriately. And when they don't use it appropriately, we need to have conversations about it. So instead of taking the phone away, which I'm gonna backtrack because I'm not gonna like throw shade out there. My son does not have his tablet right now because he used it incorrectly. But he abused that privilege, and we had a conversation about why, and why that was, what kind of character traits he broke in that process. So he will not have it. He's not happy with me right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the consequence. But having conversations with kids, monitoring their usage with
Yep.
them, not like
Yep.
sneaking around behind their back and taking their phone and looking through it, really sitting with them and having a dialogue about what they posted, what messages they're sending to other people, and so that you're having that, and they know that this is a normal thing. They know that you're going to have a conversation with them about it, so that
Yeah.
awareness for them. But if we take the phone away, then we're just we're not
They're gonna sneak behind your back and they're gonna do it worse.
right,
It's
right.
like sneaking
Yeah,
out, right?
right.
It's like sneaking out. Yeah.
What is concerning is that we see that students, when they do not have their phone or they don't have their device, they have like this dependence on it, and it creates this huge anxiety for them. And so we want them to be able to use it effectively because that's how the world is moving. We're a technological world.
Yeah.
So with students in particular, we at my school have I'm on like every committee, but
Jeez, how many teams and committees are you on?
no,
Yo, what time? What?
I
Hey,
know.
first of all, your husband's name is Phil, right?
Yes, yes.
Does he see you? Does he see you on like 10 teams?
I don't have enough time in my day.
Do you see him? Does he schedule meetings? Is put it on the Google Calendar. I do that junk though. I ain't gonna lie. I have to schedule stuff on Google
It's tough.
what like lifetime.
One of the focuses that we have is instead of we're going to be focusing on digital wellness
Mhm.
here, but I want to switch it up to really relate to the kids so it connects to them. So I want it to be digital wokeness.
Yeah.
And I want them to really understand because if we talk about digital wellness, I don't know if they'll appreciate it as much
Yeah.
depending on their level about like how you stay woke about how much time you're spending on it, the
Yeah.
balance, how you use it, what are you posting on it, what is your digital footprint with it.
Yeah. And wokeness to me, when you say the word woke, just means awareness, right? That's what it is, right? That
Yeah, so why not
that
use
that
it
awareness.
so it connects with them even more? So we're going to be doing that in the winter time. Also educating parents on how they can use
Yeah.
technology correctly.
Yeah.
I would have to say that the rumors, verbal, still are very high, and they spread like wildfire.
Still old school. The old school rumors, the whispers in the locker room.
Yep. What I see
Wow.
more on the digital platform is like fake accounts being made on Instagram and
Oh, okay.
posting
Okay.
pictures.
Let me just say I had to interject. Yeah, you know, so you know about that thing called what's called Finsta. Some girl told me this is where I love working at a college campus because they keep me young and also make me realize I'm old. Where they're like, yo, I have my real account and then I have my Finsta account. I'm like, what is that? And that's when they make the fake Instagram to troll people with, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, what? I was like, I have more than one Instagram, but my other Instagram is my podcast Instagram. They're like, no, it's a legit fake person that I make to catfish people or whatever. And I'm just like, this is this digital world. Like I'm saying, like I'm really starting to feel like an old person. Like the kids are doing things that like I wouldn't have thought of, and that's what I think we're coming to the age where we're like we're older, we're adults. like,
Yeah, no, but I'll give you a flip side of technology
yeah,
for kids that cannot connect at the school level and don't feel a sense of belonging or appeal,
yeah,
they can find that behind a different lens. Like I always
yes,
talk to kids about your
yeah,
Instagram filter and how you're using it,
yeah,
and are you being real or are you being fake? And 'cause,
mhm,
like sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I like to go on Snapchat and like my mascara or my eyeliner looks even more awesome.
yeah,
Use the filter, but like how genuine are you being and how authentic are you being? Because then you come to school and people see the real you. So like who are you being on a constant level?
yeah, and also like I would say, and we're talking about children mental health and just in general, uh, technology while it is connected us, it's also disconnected us from having genuine, authentic, face-to-face relationships. And like I'm even gonna say, practice what I preach. Falling victim to to that is that I'm an outgoing person, but I realize that maybe sometimes I need to deplug to make sure that I'm maintaining authenticity with my relationships. But on the flip side, what also I learned is that Instagram and all that has exacerbated depression and anxiety because you think everyone else is living a better life than you, and it can be very isolating. And I know for the kids, that's probably what's risen in their mental health is some of these kids, while they feel like they have a connectedness to other kids, they can also feel disconnected when they think everyone else is doing well in life and balling out. And if you're struggling with depression and anxiety, you feel quite alone
Yeah.
when you look at Instagram.
And just walking around a middle school or any school in
Mhm.
general, everybody's comparing themselves
Mhm.
to one another, and wishing that they had, if they have curly hair, they want straight hair. If they,
Mhm.
don't have glasses, they want glasses, or, vice versa, all over the place. And, everybody wants each other's shoes and they trade shoes. And that same kind of thing happens online too, like,
Mhm.
but I would say, and I know parents always forget, people tell me all the time that I have a special place in heaven because I'm a middle school counselor.
Mhm.
But I think I see the majority of kids, I see a high percentage of kids actually functioning pretty well in a middle school setting,
Okay.
with their academics, with peer relationships, but it's because they've found themselves and they're open to growing,
Mhm.
and they're being authentic. So the
Mhm.
kids that come in that are that don't know who they are, that don't know who they want to be, and feel like they have to be somebody else, they do struggle quite a bit.
Mm.
Getting them involved in extracurricular activities, making sure that they have something that they connect to, something that they
Mm.
bond to, that
Yeah,
is a
connectedness.
source of identity for them is so critical for them at this age, and any age really. I mean, don't we all? Don't we all feel
Now,
that?
I was about to say that sense of connectedness and authenticity
Yeah.
is something we always strive for, even as adults. But I know that's probably exacerbated as kids. But those things, feeling connected to other people, that's something that even obviously adults struggle with as well.
Right, and knowing your squad, and knowing that, because there's such insecurities with kids at this age in particular,
Yeah.
that I'm seeing, and they're always worried. Every year we change their schedule up, right? They're not with the same kids in all the same
Hmm.
classes, so they're meeting new people and being open to that and being receptive to that. So my caseload, I think I've got 330 kids,
Oh, yeah.
and so I carry them all 3 years. So the
How
life,
many you know by name?
I would say, probably 97% of them.
Chloe,
I
you murder their names like I murder your name.
I don't murder their names. I would say, and I reason I say, like, I would say with my first group of students, I knew 100% of them.
Yes, that's great.
I did. And then with this group, I've had changing shifts. So we have
Mm.
a counselor that specifically works with ESOL students. So out
Yeah.
of the eighth grade, I don't know a percent of them as well, but I know who they are.
Faces. You can see the faces.
I do, but my former students would tell you, because I've run into them at their feeder schools or out in
Hmm.
different areas. I'm
Yeah.
able to pull their names like that. I hear sometimes, and they call me Miss Ibison, and did it for the real name, and and I had
Uh,
kids. I saw them when they were 10. Yeah,
yes,
and
that's one. That's quite remarkable.
they're now as sophomores in college, and I'm able to remember their story, and what they went through and who their friends were. I still, as a parent, I could tell you exactly where your child sits in the cafeteria. I'll tell you that.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I knew what section they sit in. I knew who their tribe is. I know, like, if they're going to the library for lunch, or how frequently I see them. It's important for me. That is a huge thing for me, to get to know my kids and maintain that.
Man, we talked a lot. I mean, it's probably we're on a roll. I want you to talk about the Aspire program real quick because I love the Redskins as you do too. So tell me about that program real quick. Um, real
Really
quick.
excited about this. So the Washington Redskins Charitable Foundation, it's all about seizing moments as a counselor, and jumping on things. And there was an opportunity to have my seventh grade girls. Now they're eighth grade counselor, but last year, and take them out to a girls group that they have, and it's 70 some girls from across the region. And the Washington Redskins have only focused really on male programs in the past 20 years, and this is their first girls program. So they called us out. They had a fall summit and spring summit where they focused on self-esteem, body image, confidence, and the girls. So we went in the fall and spring, and then they called us back for. We just went to a Redskins game. We got
Mhm.
to go in the field and talk to women in leadership. And that's what they've been exposed to this entire program. These women who are CEOs, or high powered women, and they heard their journey, and who they were as seventh graders, so the girls could connect. to that. And I think every female can remember who they were when they were a seventh grade girl. I particularly do, and it was.
I think Maggie probably do. I'm gonna have to ask her now.
Yeah, it was an awkward time, but also seventh grade was my favorite year. I was in an all girls math class, and it was the only year of my life that I was really good at math, which I then dropped off after that. And then I had a great teachers. I remember the O.J. Simpson trial was going on, and we had debates in English class.
Oh yeah.
I remember just the feel. I could still kind of like smell what middle school was like in at that time. And I think these girls are having exposure to great experiences. And now on Friday when I left school, we got an invitation to go hear Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I'm trying to go. Where is this at? Where yeah.
Well, and the whole goal of Aspire is to keep these girls in the closet.
That's wonderful.
So
that's wonderful.
Starting with a new seventh grade group. On the 29th, I'm taking them out there. So I'll have two groups of Aspire. And I'm so grateful that I can share these opportunities with these students. I love what I do. And I love having, we go into educate, you were talking about counselors going to education for the counseling. I really went in with the focus of making a difference.
Yeah.
And if I made a difference in one kid's life, then I felt like my whole career could be made. And I know I've made a difference in more than one kid's life.
100%.
Yeah, and for these girls, I'm part of a life-changing experience for them. And
they're going to remember you. They're going to say your name correctly. You know what I'm saying?
They're going to remember Miss Neforos. They're going to remember singing Houston with me.
Oh, man.
Mariah Carey and Tupac.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'm
that makes me
grateful.
So happy.
I love my girls. I'm proud of them. They've grown so much. I've had girls that went from literally having 2 felonies to being on all 8 honor roll and being in all classes and really building their self-confidence and their empowerment. So this is massive kudos to the Redskins. Hail. And I told them,
if you got a problem with the name, it doesn't bother me. They could be the Redskin Potatoes. It's about the DMV. That's all that matters to me. You know what I'm saying? For me, the Redskins is just the way that me and my dad bonded. So I'm always going to be a fan regardless because it was father-son time. So that's why this.
I'm an ill-filled award recipient for the top 5 Redskins friends. So
I thought it was the Caps too. I thought it was DMV Sports because you'd be killing all the sports.
No, I've only gotten Redskins, and I haven't received that award.
I might have to do a double one for the Caps because you're pretty on to them too. You're all about the Caps as well.
Left graduation for students and went over to celebrate that win.
Oh, the Caps thing?
Oh,
that was dope.
I was in DC for it.
Oh, for sure. I know you were. So there's the part of my show where I call it shot for shot. You get to ask me a random question. I get to ask you a random question. Has nothing to do with mental health. I already gave you a little warning. So this is my question, but I'm gonna give a little explanation of my question. So my question is, what was your first impression of me? But I'm gonna give you my first impression of you. So my first impression of you is when we became the CSI leadership.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And we went over to your house, and it was all fancy.
In Alexandria. Yeah.
Was it in Alexandria?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
I think it was in Fairfax. Didn't you have a Fairfax one too?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it was your apartment then. Either it was your apartment or it was someone.
I had a pretty bougie apartment.
Yeah, or was it Linda's?
Street.
It was someone's apartment, and it was the new CSI people and the old CSI people. And yeah, it was fancy, and you had wine, and you were talking about how serious this was, and CSI is not to, whatever. And I literally looked, and I was like, yo, first of all, the whole program, I ain't gonna lie, I experienced imposter syndrome the whole time. The whole time. I literally thought I do not belong in grad school with these people. Like, and not these people as in like, I'm superior. Like more like I was inferior. Like I do not belong here. Like they're gonna catch on that I should not be in grad school. Everyone is all gung ho about counseling. Everyone is all serious. And I went to this CSI thing, and I was like, oh my God, like I just thought it was a joke to run for the secretary, but
it is not a joke.
I didn't what? Yeah, I was like, I don't want this no more. Everyone's too serious, and like And the whole time, through the whole program, I look at Enrique. I'm like, yeah, everyone in this program is so serious. Like, I don't belong here. Like, I really don't belong here. And I had that like inferior, like I wasn't, I didn't study psychology in undergrad, so everyone was like, I know all these theories and Freud, and I was like, I'm just good at talking to people, I guess. Like, so the point is, when I first met you, I thought you were the most gung ho, serious. Uh, I don't think I could have laughed at. I don't know. I thought you were a serious person. I was intimidated. Like, I was straight up intimidated, and I am so, so, so happy we stayed in touch because I got to see the real you. And like, you're funny as hell, and like you make me laugh, and you're really down to earth, and I, I don't know. That was my first impression. So I did that long story to tell you, like, from my shot for shot. What was your first impression of me when I came in life?
Oh my goodness, you're bringing me back, dude. Well, first of all, let me go back and like justify that situation. I was secretary treasurer when I came in.
Oh yeah, me too. That's why we had like a little side talk because
Yeah.
I think we were supposed to talk about like the individual role and how is it what we're
Well,
supposed to do.
I was secretary treasurer turned president. So
Yeah.
I was on the leadership team for 2 years. And when I came in as secretary treasurer, the chapter really wasn't going anywhere and doing anything. And I only wanted to be on CSI. Like, I was so excited. Like, when I was in undergrad, I would go up to like the bulletin board for CSI, and I was like, oh, I can't wait until one day I'm in grad school and I'm on CSI.
Hold on. First of all, let's pause and let's dial the story back. So you were gung ho about going into grad school. Period.
Oh, I knew I wanted to be a school counselor since I was 16.
Oh my! See, oh my God. Yo, can I just dial it back? Like I don't know. You listen to my episode. There's like I fell into Mason's program. Like I didn't know anything. Like I float in life. Like this podcast is an example. Like I don't have any plans beyond 5 years. I just figure it out. So I'm so like when I hear about people saying like I want to do this when I was 16 years old, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
So dial it back. So you literally was like, I saw the bulletin board for CSI. I'm gonna be in that
I'm
jam.
gonna be on it. I knew that I would be in it. Like, I hope. But to be on the leadership team was so meaningful for me.
Okay.
And when I was voted into secretary treasurer, and I think I was the only person that I was up against. So like,
I ran against someone, I think.
I won. Because because there wasn't a lot of participation.
Yes.
And so nobody really knew what CSI was. It was like a certificate. You got a carnation.
Yeah.
You got some cake.
Yeah.
Like some Sprite, right? To celebrate.
Yeah.
That was it.
And you get a thing when you graduate, a nice
Right.
thing.
Like your cord and everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to transform that. So then I went into the president role. And when I came in, people were like, we're not doing anything. What's going on with the budget? What is happening here? And
Yeah.
so then I instituted these student town halls where they could like talk to the leadership team. So it did get serious. Like, I liken it to Obama coming in during the recession. Like, I was
fire heights. You were in the hot seat.
I was under the hot seat, and that was okay. Like, there was a lot of issues, but I'm really proud of myself during that time. We recruited the highest number of students and got them accepted into the semester. We presented for the very first time at the American Counseling Association conference.
Shout out. Yeah. Yeah.
We developed a program. I think you were on it then, with like your picture and a bio for the election.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I gotta find that job. I'm so corny.
Send your picture and a bio so people can, because there was a lack of connectedness and people didn't know who you were voting for.
Yeah, I remember I had to do a speech or go into class and do like a 5-minute pitch.
Did I make you do that? Maybe.
Other people did that. I went to classes and say, "Hi, I'm Philip Wilkerson." I remember that.
Oh, okay.
Which prepared me for public speaking, so shout out to you for that. But
I mean, I don't know if I enforced that. I was.
I don't know. I did it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's good. But no, it was very serious for me, and making sure that after we did all that great work, and we really, like, I color coded the announcements that were sent out on the listserv.
Yeah, I remember that.
A lot with the professors to make sure that information was, relayed. To that, we had like basically monthly get-togethers with
We try to,
people because
yeah.
we wanted to have like a multicultural. Actually, we went to one of my favorite restaurants now in Annandale for like sushi and Korean barbecue. And
Which one, Ilmi?
what?
Was it Ilmi?
No, it's not Kadori. It's
Gojira?
Yichang.
Yichang, yeah, that sounds bomb. I love that place. Oh man, I need to go back.
So we went there and we had a room. So like we tried to build like we had cookouts and barbecues. We had a YouTube video to like connect people with. Like
I gotta find that now. I'm gonna look on the internet for the YouTube video.
Gary Lowe made it. And
oh yeah, yeah, I remember Gary. Okay. So you don't always that. So what was the first impression? You trying to avoid the question. What was the first impression?
I mean, I guess you were timid with me. I didn't know. Like you kind of just sat there quietly, but you smiled a lot.
I did.
But I'm not lying. Like it's funny when people say that they're intimidated of me because I think I can present myself in like a confident way that people might like be like, oh, But I'm really not that way. Like I'm pretty down to earth and
100%.
Yeah, I like to joke around a lot and like I'm the only person on Twitter that has the hashtag school counselor on fleek.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I just try to be myself and be a character.
No, I just really liked it.
Well, and then you and I would talk and we would reach out to each other, and I knew you were a huge Redskins fan, so I
100%.
really liked you. And we would. I mean, I thought you were really nice, and I knew that you were in the community program though, so like we didn't know each other that well.
Right, 100%.
So we've gotten to know each other better since graduating. Actually.
Yes, and I also want to say that while we haven't seen each other physically, I do believe that people can inspire you via the internet. I feel like your genuineness, the authenticity really shows, and I just really like your boys, your family, the Redskins, your smile. It just makes me happy, and that's real. That's like real deal.
I appreciate you sending out messages of positivity and trying to start something like on a big scale level. Like I don't know why Ellen DeGeneres didn't pick up on that.
Oh man, because that joint ain't never happening. That's never happening.
Like I don't like to talk that way. I like to always believe that things can happen.
Yeah, whatever.
I really believe in it.
I'll have to go to just pop up at her studio. Okay, your turn to ask me a question. That was mine was like the longest shot for shot record setting. That was the longest shot for shot ever of me asking a question. So
you got me all anxious. Like you're like, I'm gonna tell you about my first impression of you.
Yeah, I was trying to be scary. I was trying to get you back.
Well, I was sitting here intimidated the whole time talking about youth mental health issues, right? Well, you are a boy dad. Like I'm a boy mom.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
What do you think are the greatest challenges of having boys, and how do you handle that every day?
Well.
Because I think that your oldest is very similar to my youngest, and
full of spirit, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a nice way to say it.
He's an advocate for himself too. That's my other way of saying it too.
He's an advocate for himself because he barges into doors and.
Yeah, well, my son's an advocate for himself because he's very vocally advocates for himself, and he'll tell you what he wants and when he wants it and how he wants it. And then Miles is just smiley. That boy just smiles. I don't really think it's a challenge, man. Like honestly, the thing that I struggle with in parenting is not actually my boys, but myself. So I don't know. Like I told someone a long time ago, like fatherhood for me was the first time where I finally felt confident in like that imposter syndrome that I had, where I was like, man, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. It was the first time where I was like getting reinforcement. Like it was the first time where I didn't need positive reinforcement externally. Like I felt it in myself. Like I'm a pretty good dad. I just got to be there. I do this. I've been changing. Like I was like, I was doing all these things and like changing diapers, and I'm like, it comes natural. And I look over and like, it just seemed like it was normal for me to do this stuff. So I was like the one role where I felt very confident. I would say that I had a very tough time in the spring dealing with all these challenges, is where I think I got a big hit to my ego. So with Bennett, I felt like, man, I'm killing it. I'm really a great dad. And then Miles come along, and Miles come along, and I'm like, I was struggling. How do I balance being a good dad to two guys? How do I multitask? Um, how do I give myself to two boys? How do I love them equally? Am I good at being both? Bennett was starting to get a little bit more vocal and more strong-willed, and that's where I started. Like, I think one of the main struggles I had was that was the first time, regardless of Bennett's full life when he was only 3 years old, where I started to question that confidence that I had in myself. Like, I was super confident in being a dad. Miles comes around, and then I was like, that confidence just got hit really hard. And it took the whole summer. It took me, getting more confident in my job to finally feel like I'm killing it again. Like, I really feel like I'm back to being a good dad to both my boys now. And I finally feel that confidence that I had with Bennett now with both boys. Like, I can take both boys out by myself. Got it. You know what I'm saying? I load up the car. I'll wear Miles. The other day, Valentine's Day. I mean, not Valentine's, Veterans Day. All these things were closed, but Mason was still open. I was like, I ain't got coverage till noon. I just took Miles to work with me, and I just figured it out. And I was wearing them, and people were like, "You're just so easy, like it's just easy going. Like, you really don't stress with, like, you figure it out. And you carrying the diaper bag, like literally that part. That was like, for me, is reassuring. That was like the one time, and I hope it continuously feels this way, where I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel good about it. Like I quite honestly never felt confident in a job per se till now. Like, I didn't feel confident in grad school. I've always had this sense of being an imposter, like not fully belonging. And then having my boys, like, literally legit was a time where I felt like I know what I'm doing. I think that was like my grand purpose. Like, I was supposed to be a dad, and that's not some Hallmark card thing. That's like legit. Like, I'm like I feel pretty good about it. Like, I feel pretty confident about it.
You're good at it, though.
Yeah, I feel pretty good at it. I think the hardest part when you said the obstacle was when I had two boys, and I felt like that confidence I had was fake, and I'm coming back to that. No, I'm confident in that, and all I gotta do is be present and love my boys, and show them how I want them. Lead by example, the positive filter, be a positive person, and my boys will, see that and be goofy and just be stupid and just be my authentic self. And my boys love that. My boys appreciate that, and that's a good feeling too, when you have a little person that, like, you can just be yourself around, and that little person thinks you're the best.
Right.
And I think slowly, both my boys, hopefully, my boys feel that way about me. I like to think so. So, I don't know. If I had a little girl, I think it might be an extra layer where I'd feel like this extra responsibility to also be this ultra male protector of a little girl. My boys, man, they fall. I'm like, wipe it off. You all right? Like, you all right? It's a little tougher with the boys, but I don't know. I think the main struggle is confidence with boys. And here's another thing too. The confidence, the kids. I tell people all the time, and I tell new dads, new parents, new couples, whatever issues you're going through internally, kids are a giant mirror. Meaning, if you're not confident in yourself, kids will expose that times 10. If you have insecurities about certain things, which I did, like insecurities about being confident and self-assured, kids exacerbate that. They make it like, if you're bad at spending money, you get worse at spending money with kids.
Right.
Whatever issues you're going through, it gets worse. So I tell people, if you have things that you need to clean house or get counseling for, do that before you have kids, because it doesn't get easier. It gets harder. Mm-hmm. So work, fix your stuff before you have kids. So the things I've always struggled with, confidence and feeling like I deserve to be places, or that I have a seat at the table, that I belong. You got into grad school because you got in.
Right.
Things like that. I've always had issues with that, and having my sons have kind of helped me feel a little bit better and worse at the same time. Like they made me confident, but at certain times I was like not very confident.
Right. No, I hear you on that.
Wow, that was the long answer. We're killing it. This is a powerful episode. This is making me really happy. So this is
Good.
the end of the episode. I like to give everyone the opportunity when they do the episode to give shout outs to people, but then also plugs. Whatever projects, things that you're working on, plug it. But then also, additionally, when you plug it, make sure that you type it in the show notes you extensively did with the hashtags, the Twitters, all that, because I want the listeners to actually listen to this episode. I want them to look at the show notes and look at all these resources that you shouted out. So here's your time for shout out and plugs.
Oh, well, I mean, I got to give a shout out to you, Phil, for spreading all these good messages and having such a comprehensive podcast. It's so cool, and I really appreciate you asking me to be a part of it. It's really humbling, and I'm honored, actually, because I know you know a lot of counselors, and so I appreciate you recognizing
Shit, you're top five though. I'm about to give you another one.
You know, I have to give a shout out to all my friends who have helped me get through because your career goes through ebbs and flows and ups and
hmm
downs and hills and valleys and mine definitely did, and it wasn't until I hit my stride a couple years ago and my
hmm
friend at work, my art teacher extraordinaire Jason Hutto, he said to me, it's like Megan unhinged, and I just felt like liberated. My principal director really helped kind of guide me in my efforts in my counseling department, and I've been able to do what I wanted to do, and
hmm
that has helped me. So goals that I set forth to have when I was in grad school, I've been able to accomplish and do so much more than that. And when I got the School Counselor of the Year nominee award or nomination, I didn't win it, but the
No, you got
nomination.
nominated. That's
But
tight.
I didn't need to win it. I just to have that experience was incredible for me, and a
Mm-hmm.
validation of the work that I do. And I love what I do. I got to give a big shout out to my students for inspiring me every
Mm-hmm.
single day. My former students, my current students, I love them all dearly, and I think they know that. I try to tell them that every single day and every moment that I can. I would say mostly to new counselors who are out there to make sure that they celebrate themselves and to recognize what they do and appreciate that and reflect on that as they go through. Um, and to be challenge their own mindset too and their growth in the profession. And
Mm-hmm.
like I came in like, oh, I'm going to be an expert on bullying issues, and I do love supporting anti-bullying efforts.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like college and career, like that's my thing, and also moving to like a school-wide program instead of just my caseload. And I'm in the school counseling leadership cohort now, learning so much, and I aspire to be a director one day. And so I gotta give shout out to Dave Zarnecki, who hired me in the county, to Clarence Jones, who's
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He was Clarence Jones do that. Like supervised was at the school for everybody.
he
Hillard
was
loves Clarence Jones.
yeah, he was my supervisor for practicum, and he
Yeah.
told me that he would ensure that I got through the program, and he did. He is still a mentor to me, and sometimes he just like sends me these random things on Facebook
Oh yeah.
to let me know that he's thinking of me, and it's like timely. It's like, are you in my life? Like, what?
Was he sending you like motivational quotes and stuff? What did he send
Yeah,
you?
he
That's
does
dope. That's
motivational quotes
dope.
all the time, and
That's dope.
it allows me to sit and reflect. And anybody that can provide me feedback and make me think on a bigger scale, I really appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Brian Tuckeraro, who asked me to present with him at the BSBA conference.
Mm.
We presented twice, and what a great opportunity that was for me professionally to grow. And I can't wait to get back right now and do it again. And now, like, we're being asked at my school to do other presentations. So I feel like things are just starting to fly. But my confidence too, like you were talking about, wasn't always
Mm.
there, and that impacted, a lot of my efforts. But I always stayed true to focusing on the kids and what they needed. So I think my heart has always been in a good place. I do get pretty intense at times, and like the spirit fingers, and
Yeah.
pretty passionate about this profession and youth mental health and kids in general. And so I hope every day that that comes across in the work that I do. And if I can inspire or help people then I feel like my life is complete. And I love my boys. I gotta give a shout out to my boys.
And your husband. Give a shout out to him.
Yes, my husband.
Who you met at a Redskin game.
I did meet him at a Redskins game.
See?
Yeah, Redskins Steelers game.
Did they win or lose?
They won that game.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's why I remember that.
You won twice.
Yeah, not many people can say they walked down the aisle at their wedding to hail to the Redskins.
Dope. And now let's do the social media plugs or whatever things that people can follow you.
So,
you said you're on the Twitter for counseling and also some other resources that you'd like to plug.
I am on Twitter, and I like to say it's the Mrs. Neforos, so people can follow me on there for Twitter. And I'm on the hashtag SC chat for school counselor chat. I think it's like once a month on Wednesday. People do it, so I just started to do those programs. There's Ed Chat too that I haven't really gotten into, but I follow it because my principal and some teachers do it. But definitely Twitter. Mostly Instagram is like my personal stuff on there.
Yeah, we don't do that.
But the kids have told me, my students have told me they want me to get on Instagram, so I got to do something on there. So I'm going to be branching out here soon.
Maybe you can like I said, you make a Finster.
Yeah.
For the kids.
That. You know what? And I have Urban Dictionary on my phone because kids come in and they say things to me, and I'm like, I want to be like
Finster.
Like real. So like
Finsta. Take Insta.
The word slick is coming back, right? You slick.
Or slime. I didn't know what that was or anything else.
No, I'm learning all this stuff. So.
Okay, so they can follow you. Thank you so much for being on this episode. She's gonna put the stuff in the show notes. Everyone's a special guest, but you know, I had to get you to come to the Loose Shoelace Saloon. I want you to, hang out. You also have a relationship with Maggie.
Maggie.
It's just, you are a very special person. Here's one thing I would say before. I also go on rambles, but this is my last rambling, is that in the profession of helping others, counseling, social work, whatever, you take these classes and you take these theories and all this stuff. I literally don't use none of that, right? I don't. Here's what I'm going to say. The thing that cannot be taught is rapport, personality, connectiveness, and just a genuine care. You can't teach that. Those are things that are born. Those are things that come from your heart. And literally, when I see you with your kids, I see some other of my friends with their kids, but particularly I see you, I know that there's no class that can teach that. That's something that's born. That's something that's God-given. Connecting with people, connecting with the youth, connecting with people and saying, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. I definitely believe in a higher power and God and purpose. And I believe that people that want to help are given that purpose. And I do believe that from you. You show that for sure. And I don't know if I'm saying put myself on a pedestal. I feel like sometimes when I see people like you do that kind of work and just be themselves, I feel like I can do that too. I don't have to be, super brainy or know all these theories to really convey that if I want to help someone, I just need to be myself. I see that you being yourself allows me to be myself to help others. And you're doing great work. I'm very, very proud of you. That's not no BS. That's 100% real. I'm very proud of you. And every time you get these little, you get these nominations, I'm like, go ahead, Megan, go ahead. I really celebrate your success because your success speaks a lot to the community. It speaks a lot to the Mason students that graduated like you. It's your victories are our victories, and I definitely feel like that. I would say go Mason, but they taking all my money. They're the only one I'm paying student loans for.
We always have time for a go.
But go Mason. So I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for being on this episode of Positive Philter.
Thank you. You're awesome, dude.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends. and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity Movement. Thanks for listening.